The Galactic Empire's ships hovered above the Earth like a swarm of silver beasts. Their sleek, dark hulls reflected the sunlight, making them look like ominous shadows against the blue sky. For centuries, the Empire had expanded its reach, swallowing weaker civilizations without much effort. Earth, a small, seemingly insignificant planet, was just another target. Emperor Lorith watched the scene from his throne aboard the Imperial flagship, the Sovereign Blade Asterisk. His cold, reptilian eyes narrowed as he spoke to his generals. These humans are primitive. Their technology is laughable. A single battalion should suffice. The generals nodded, their faces a mix of arrogance and boredom. None of them expected resistance. Earth was, after all, a backwater planet with no interstellar travel, no advanced weaponry, and no allies. It was a planet they thought would crumble under the first show of force. On the ground, humanity stood united, watching the invasion unfold. News channels buzzed with images of the Empire's fleet, while leaders across the globe convened emergency meetings. Panic spread among the people, but deep within, there was a spark of defiance. Humans had faced their share of wars, disasters, and challenges. This was just another threat to overcome. In one of those meetings, General Marcus Lane, a seasoned military strategist, stood before a map of Earth. "They think we're weak," he said, addressing the room of global leaders. "That arrogance will be their downfall." President Elena Carter, the leader of the United Earth Council, leaned forward. "What's the plan?" Marcus's face was grim but determined. "We'll fight smart. We can't match their firepower, but we can outthink them." Humans have always been resourceful. As the first Imperial ship descended into Earth's atmosphere, Commander Relok of the Galactic Empire prepared his troops. Relok was young, ambitious, and eager to prove himself. This mission, though seen as trivial by his superiors, was his chance to earn glory. "Show no mercy," he ordered, his voice echoing through the troop carrier. "These humans are nothing more than an obstacle." The Empire's first strike was swift and brutal. Their energy weapons tore through city defenses, and their soldiers marched through urban streets like an unstoppable tide. Civilians scattered in terror, seeking shelter wherever they could. Yet, amid the chaos, something unexpected began to happen. Resistance. Small groups of humans fought back, using unconventional tactics. They ambushed Imperial patrols, disabled their equipment with crude but effective methods, and communicated through encrypted networks that the Empire struggled to break. The humans' ingenuity caught Relok's attention. "What is this?" Relok muttered, watching a live feed of a skirmish. A human soldier had used the terrain to trap an entire squad of Imperial troops, luring them into a narrow alley where their weapons were less effective. It was a minor victory, but it showed something Relok had not anticipated. Humans adapted quickly. Back on the Sovereign Blade Asterisk, Emperor Lorith received reports of these minor setbacks. He dismissed them as insignificant. "A few inconveniences," he sneered. "Crush them. Make them regret defying us." Relok, however, wasn't so sure. The humans were not just resisting. They were learning. Each encounter made them stronger, their tactics more effective. It was as if they thrived under pressure, growing sharper with every challenge. Meanwhile, on Earth, Captain Elena Graves, a leader of one of the resistance groups, rallied her team. "They came here thinking we'd roll over," she said, her voice steady but filled with fire. "Let's show them what humans are made of." Her words spread like wildfire. Across the planet, resistance efforts intensified. Engineers hacked into Empire drones, soldiers modified enemy weapons, and ordinary people found ways to contribute, whether by sabotaging supply lines or gathering intelligence. The Empire had never faced anything like this. Their previous conquests had been easy, civilizations that surrendered at the first sign of Imperial might. But humans were different. They didn't just fight back. They refused to give up. As the sun set on Earth, casting the battlefields in hues of orange and red, Relok stared out of the viewport of his ship. For the first time, doubt crept into his mind. This wasn't going to be the quick, easy victory he had envisioned. And somewhere deep in space, beyond the Empire's reach, other civilizations began to take notice. The humans were putting up a fight. Perhaps the Empire wasn't as invincible as it claimed to be. The stage was set for a conflict that would shake the galaxy. The Galactic Empire had assumed their campaign on Earth would end in a swift conquest. However, what they encountered was chaos. Chaos that humans controlled masterfully. Commander Relok paced the command room of his carrier ship, his tail flicking in irritation. The holographic map displayed dozens of red marks, each representing disruptions in the Empire's forces. Communication lines were breaking down, supply routes were being intercepted, and their once coordinated attack was unraveling. "Commander, the humans are using strange methods," one of his officers reported, confusion written across their reptilian features. "They've weaponized their own electromagnetic pulses, disabling several of our drones. They've even hijacked a few." Rilok narrowed his eyes. "What do you mean, hijacked?" The officer hesitated, then played a video feed. On the screen, one of the Empire's sleek, black drones now bore the crude insignia of a human faction, a spray-painted eagle with a lightning bolt. The drone moved erratically, firing on Imperial troops instead of its designated targets. Rilok's jaw tightened. This was not the mindless resistance he had expected. On the ground, Captain Alina Graves crouched behind an overturned vehicle, her heart pounding. The battle had moved into the city streets, where towering buildings cast long shadows over the chaos below. Her team, a mix of soldiers and volunteers, prepared for their next move. Alina, her second-in-command, Corporal Davis, whispered, "The Imperial Patrol is heading our way." Alina nodded, her sharp eyes scanning the street. The alien troops marched in a rigid formation, their energy rifles glowing faintly in the dim light. They looked unstoppable, cold, mechanical, and relentless. But Alina knew their weakness. "Wait for my signal," she whispered. Her team held their breath as the aliens approached. At just the right moment, Alina gave a sharp whistle. A loud explosion erupted from a hidden trap a block away, sending chunks of debris flying. The Imperials turned in confusion, their disciplined formation breaking as they sought the source of the attack. "Now," Alina shouted. Her team sprang into action, launching a coordinated ambush. Molotov cocktails lit up the street, forcing the Imperials into cover. Makeshift EMP grenades, crafted by human engineers, fried their advanced weaponry. Within minutes, the patrol was overwhelmed, retreating in disarray. Alina allowed herself a small smile. "They rely too much on their tech," she muttered. "Take that away. And they're just like us, panicked and vulnerable." Elsewhere, similar scenes played out across the planet. Humans were turning the tide not with superior firepower but with ingenuity. Farmers in rural areas used their knowledge of the land to set traps that disabled Imperial vehicles. Hackers in underground bunkers broke into the Empire's systems, rerouting supply drops to human strongholds. Even children contributed, acting as couriers and messengers to relay information. Commander Relok's frustration grew with every report. He slammed a clawed hand onto the console in front of him. "How can creatures with such primitive technology do this?" he demanded. His strategist, a seasoned veteran named Krolek, offered a grim reply. "It's not their technology, Commander. It's their adaptability. They don't fight like any species we faced before." Rilok growled but didn't reply. Deep down, he knew Krolek was right. These humans were unpredictable. Their tactics were crude but effective, and their determination was unlike anything he had seen. Back on Earth, the resistance was growing bolder. In a hidden bunker beneath a mountain range, General Marcus Lane reviewed the latest updates. Maps covered the walls, marked with red and blue pins. The red pins showed Imperial strongholds, but the blue pins, human victories, were steadily increasing. "We're holding them off," Marcus said, addressing a group of leaders over a secure video call. But we can't get complacent. The Empire has resources we can't imagine. They'll escalate. President Carter's face appeared on the screen, her expression resolute. Then we escalate too, she replied. Our people are fighting like never before. Let's make sure every inch of this planet resists. Meanwhile, Reloc's fleet faced a new challenge. Human engineers had discovered a way to amplify Earth's magnetic field, creating interference that disrupted Imperial communications. The fleet, once an impenetrable wall of order, now struggled to coordinate its attacks. Ships drifted off course, their systems glitching. For the first time, Reloc felt the weight of doubt pressing on his chest. These humans were more than he had expected. They didn't just resist. They thrived under pressure. Each setback seemed to make them stronger, more determined. As he stood on the bridge of his ship, staring at the blue-green planet below, Reloc muttered to himself, "This is no ordinary conquest. These humans, they might actually be a threat." Little did he know, the humans had only just begun to show what they were capable of. The Empire was about to face a war unlike anything in its history. The Galactic Empire's fleet loomed ominously above Earth, casting long shadows over the planet below. From orbit, Commander Reloc watched the ongoing battle unfold. Reports streamed in, each more troubling than the last. The humans weren't just resisting. They were counterattacking with alarming effectiveness. Reloc turned to his lead strategist, Krolak, who was studying a map of Earth's surface. "Tell me this is just a temporary setback," Reloc demanded, his voice sharp with frustration. Krolak hesitated. "Commander, their methods are unorthodox. They've adapted far faster than anticipated. We've never faced an enemy like this." Reloc clenched his fists, his claws digging into the armrests of his chair. He had heard enough excuses. Unorthodox. They're primitive. Crush them. But even as he barked orders, doubt gnawed at him. The humans weren't behaving like the easy prey he had expected. On the ground, Captain Alina Graves was preparing her team for their boldest mission yet. The Resistance had captured an Imperial communication drone earlier that week, and their engineers had been working around the clock to decode its systems. In the underground bunker where the drone was being analyzed, Alina watched as a young technician named Miles connected wires and typed commands into a laptop. The drone hummed softly, its black metallic surface gleaming under the fluorescent lights. "Can we use it?" Alina asked. Miles grinned, his face smudged with grease. "Not just use it, Captain. We can reprogram it to send false coordinates to the Empire's fleet. They'll think their targets are in one place while we're hitting them somewhere else." Alina's heart swelled with a mix of pride and determination. Humanity's strength wasn't in their technology. It was in their ability to turn the tools of their enemies against them. Miles's plan worked better than anyone had expected. Within hours, the Empire's forces were chasing phantom signals across the globe. Troop carriers landed in barren deserts, only to find decoy installations hastily constructed by human volunteers. Meanwhile, Resistance fighters struck Imperial supply lines and outposts with pinpoint precision. Commander Reloc stared at the latest battlefield updates, his irritation turning to unease. "Why are our forces scattered?" he demanded. Krolak, grim-faced, replied, "The humans are feeding us false intelligence. Our ships and troops are wasting resources chasing their traps." Reloc's claws tapped against the console as he considered his next move. This wasn't a fight. It was a chess match, and the humans were playing to win. In the ruins of a small city, Alina and her team launched a surprise attack on an Imperial outpost. Armed with weapons salvaged from defeated enemy troops, they moved swiftly and silently through the rubble. At the center of the outpost was a power generator, its alien design a mix of sleek curves and sharp angles. Alina crouched behind a wall, studying the structure through binoculars. "We take out that generator, and their defenses go down," she whispered. Her team moved into position, each member knowing exactly what to do. Alina gave the signal, and chaos erupted. Explosions rocked the outpost as improvised bombs detonated in key locations. Imperial troops scrambled to respond, but the resistance fighters were already gone, retreating through a network of underground tunnels they had discovered earlier. As the generator collapsed in a shower of sparks, Alina's voice crackled over the Resistance's secure radio channel. Target neutralized. Let's keep moving. The Empire's losses continued to mount. For every base they built, the humans found a way to destroy it. For every advantage they gained, the humans neutralized it. In one particularly bold move, a team of human scientists managed to hack into the Empire's main communication network. They broadcast a simple message, one that played on every Imperial screen and device. You thought we were weak. You thought wrong. The message was a declaration of defiance. But for Relok, it felt like a warning. As the sun set on Earth, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Relok stood alone on the bridge of his ship. Below him, the planet continued to fight back, its people refusing to surrender. He thought about the countless worlds the Empire had conquered with ease. None of them had been like this. None of them had forced him to question whether the Empire's might was truly as unstoppable as it claimed to be. They're learning faster than we can adapt, Krolek said quietly, stepping up beside him. Relok nodded, his jaw tight. Then we'll stop giving them time to learn. But deep down, he knew it was already too late. The humans had found their rhythm, and the Empire was no longer in control of this war. The Galactic Empire's confidence had always been its greatest weapon and its greatest flaw. From the moment Emperor Lorith had ordered the invasion of Earth, he had treated it as a formality. But now, weeks into the campaign, reports of losses poured in from every corner of the planet. Commander Relok stood in the dimly lit war room of the flagship Sovereign Blade *, surrounded by holographic maps and frustrated officers. The once pristine depiction of Earth's conquest was now riddled with red zones, each representing territories where the Empire had been forced to retreat. This cannot continue, Relok growled, slamming his fist onto the table. We are the Galactic Empire. These creatures should not be capable of such resistance. One of his officers hesitated before speaking. Commander, they found weaknesses in our technology. Their attacks are coordinated. They're learning. Relok narrowed his eyes, his pride clashing with the grim reality. Then we adapt. Prepare reinforcements. We'll crush their resistance before it spreads. On Earth, the mood was tense but hopeful. Inside a hidden resistance base, Captain Alina Graves and her team gathered around a large table. Maps of Imperial installations and troop movements covered the surface, marked with red X where successful operations had taken place. Good work on the last raid, Alina said, addressing her team. But we can't let up. They're bringing in reinforcements, which means they're feeling the pressure. Miles, the young engineer, smirked. Feeling the pressure. They're cracking, Captain. We just need to push harder. Alina nodded but remained cautious. Overconfidence is what got them into this mess. Let's not make the same mistake. The team's next mission was their most ambitious yet, targeting a key Imperial supply hub deep within enemy-controlled territory. Destroying it would cripple the Empire's ability to maintain their foothold on Earth. As night fell, Alina's team moved silently through the ruins of the city. The Empire's presence was heavy here. Patrols marched the streets, and drones hovered above. But the Resistance had studied their patterns for days, identifying gaps in their surveillance. The supply hub was a massive structure, glowing faintly with alien energy. Imperial troops guarded its perimeter, their movements sharp and disciplined. Alina signaled her team to split into groups, each with a specific target. Miles and a few others snuck into the building's lower levels, where the power generators hummed with energy. Miles set to work planting charges, his hand steady despite the tension. Up above, Alina and the rest of the team created a diversion. Using stolen Imperial weapons, they launched a sudden, chaotic attack on the guards. Explosions lit up the night as alien soldiers scrambled to respond. Inside, Miles finished setting the charges. "Done," he whispered, his voice crackling through Alina's earpiece. "We've got 5 minutes before this place goes up." "Fall back," Alina ordered, her voice firm but urgent. The team retreated through the shadows, blending into the chaos they had created. Moments later, a massive explosion rocked the city as the supply hub erupted into flames. The shockwave could be felt for miles, a testament to the humans' ability to strike where it hurt most. The loss of the supply hub was a devastating blow to the Empire. On the Sovereign Blade Rillock stared at the reports, his expression dark. "How?" he demanded, his voice a low growl. "How do they keep doing this?" Krolek, ever the pragmatist, offered a grim assessment. "They adapt faster than we can respond. Every strategy we use becomes their weapon against us. They've turned our own strength into their advantage." Rillock clenched his fists. This wasn't just a battle anymore. It was a humiliation. The Empire's reputation as an unbeatable force was crumbling, and it was all because of these humans. Meanwhile, Earth's victory inspired hope across the galaxy. In distant corners of Imperial space, whispers of rebellion began to grow. If humans could stand against the Empire, perhaps others could too. Back on Earth, the Resistance celebrated their latest success, but Alina couldn't shake a sense of foreboding. The Empire wouldn't take this defeat lightly. They were too proud, too powerful. "They'll come back harder," she said quietly to Miles, who was tinkering with a stolen Imperial rifle. "Let them," Miles replied with a grin. "We'll just hit them harder." Alina smiled faintly, but she knew the stakes were rising. The humans had proven their strength, but the Empire wasn't defeated yet. This was only the beginning of a long, brutal fight for survival. And somewhere in the vastness of space, Emperor Lorith watched in silence. His cold eyes burned with fury as he issued a single command: "No more games. Destroy them." The cost of the Empire's arrogance had been high, but their response would be merciless. The explosion of the Imperial supply hub sent shockwaves through the Galactic Empire's forces. For the first time, they realized this was not a minor rebellion, but a full-scale resistance that had shaken their pride. On board the flagship Sovereign Blade Commander Rillock stared at the latest reports with growing frustration. "Casualties, disruptions, sabotage. These humans are relentless," Rillock muttered. His claws scraped the edge of the console. "Why haven't we crushed them yet?" Krolek, his strategist, hesitated before responding. "Commander, it's not just their resilience. These humans fight with a unity and ingenuity we underestimated. They're not bound by our rigid strategies. They thrive on chaos." Rillock's jaw tightened. He knew Krolek was right. The humans were unpredictable, and their defiance was inspiring uprisings across other Imperial territories. Each day, Earth's fights sent ripples across the galaxy. On Earth, the Resistance was far from complacent. Deep within a hidden bunker, Captain Alina Graves addressed her team. The room buzzed with activity. Maps, radios, and alien technology were spread across tables. Engineers worked tirelessly to modify captured Imperial weapons, while strategists plotted their next moves. "This is our chance," Alina said, her voice calm but firm. "They're on the defensive, but we can't let up. Every move we make weakens their grip on our planet." Miles, the young engineer who had become a key figure in their operations, grinned. "We're not just fighting back, we're beating them at their own game." The team's next mission was bold. A coordinated strike on an Imperial command post. The outpost was a nerve center for their operations, controlling troop movements and communications. Taking it out would further destabilize the Empire's forces on Earth. The Resistance moved under the cover of darkness. Alina led her team through dense forests, the sounds of nocturnal creatures masking their movements. The Imperial command post loomed ahead, its alien architecture stark and intimidating. Guards patrolled its perimeter, their glowing rifles casting eerie light across the ground. "Stick to the plan," Alina whispered, her voice barely audible through the comms. No mistakes. Miles and a small group approached the command post power grid, their tools and stolen technology ready. They worked quickly, bypassing security protocols and planting EMP devices. Meanwhile, Elena and the main team positioned themselves for the assault. At exactly midnight, the EMPs detonated. The lights around the command post flickered and died, plunging the area into darkness. Confusion spread among the Imperial troops as the resistance launched their attack. Explosions erupted, and the sound of gunfire filled the air. The resistance fighters moved with precision, using guerrilla tactics to outmaneuver the disoriented aliens. Elena led the charge, her leadership inspiring those around her. Within minutes, the Imperial command post was in flames. The resistance had achieved another victory, and their morale soared. Back on the Sovereign Blade the news of the attack reached Commander Rillock. His frustration turned to fury as he listened to the report. They destroyed the command post and stole critical data, an officer said nervously. Our ground forces are in disarray. Rillock slammed his fist onto the table, his composure cracking. This planet is turning into a graveyard for our reputation, he growled. If we don't crush them soon, we risk losing control of the galaxy. Krolek, ever pragmatic, stepped forward. Commander, perhaps brute force is not the answer. The humans adapt to every tactic we use. Maybe it's time to think like them. Rillock glared at Krolek, but didn't dismiss the idea. Deep down, he knew the Empire's traditional methods were failing. The humans had turned the battlefield into a game of wits, and the Empire was struggling to keep up. In the aftermath of their latest victory, the resistance gathered to celebrate. For a brief moment, there was laughter and hope in the bunker. But Elena knew the fight was far from over. She pulled Miles aside, her expression serious. What's in the data we recovered? Miles held up a tablet, his face lit with excitement. Everything we need to know about their fleet. Weak points, command hierarchies, it's all here. Elena felt a surge of determination. This was the opportunity they needed to take the fight to the Empire in space. Get our tech teams on it, she said. If they think we're dangerous now, wait until we hit them where it hurts. Above Earth, the Sovereign Blade floated silently in orbit. Rillock stared out at the planet, a mix of frustration and unease twisting in his chest. Humans, he muttered to himself. They're not just surviving, they're winning. The stage was set for the next phase of the war. Humanity's resolve had turned the tide. But Rillock wasn't ready to surrender. Both sides knew the conflict was far from over, and the battle for Earth was only the beginning. The Galactic Empire's fleet hung in orbit like an ominous storm cloud, but within its ranks, the cracks were starting to show. Commander Rillock stood in the central command room of the Sovereign Blade his frustration palpable. Reports of human victories littered the holographic table before him, each a reminder that his once unshakable fleet was faltering. How can a single planet defy the might of the Empire? Rillock demanded, his voice a low growl. Krolek, his strategist, replied cautiously. It's their resolve, Commander. They adapt faster than we can respond. Every move we make becomes a lesson they learn and counter. Rillock glared at him, but said nothing. He turned back to the hologram of Earth, where red markers symbolizing Imperial control were steadily being replaced with blue, areas reclaimed by the humans. The war was no longer a certainty. It was a question mark. On Earth, the resistance had shifted gears. No longer content with defensive maneuvers, they were preparing to take the fight to the Empire's fleet. In a sprawling underground base, Captain Elena Graves stood before a group of resistance leaders. A large screen displayed schematics of the Empire's flagship and its fleet formations. This is where we hit them, Elena said, pointing to a highlighted section of the Sovereign Blade Their shield generators are located here. If we disable them, their entire fleet becomes vulnerable. Miles, the young engineer who had become the Resistance's tech genius, stepped forward. "We've reverse-engineered enough of their tech to make it work," he said, holding up a small device. "These EMP charges are designed specifically to take down their shields. We just need to get close enough to plant them." The room buzzed with nervous energy. Taking the fight to space was a bold move, but Alina knew it was their best chance. "We have one shot at this," she said. "If we succeed, we'll cripple their fleet and turn the tide of this war." The Resistance's plan involved a stolen Imperial transport ship, one that had been carefully modified for the mission. The crew consisted of Alina, Miles, and a small team of elite fighters. As the ship lifted off from Earth, the weight of their mission pressed down on them. Inside the cockpit, Miles worked furiously to ensure their cover held. "We're using their own transponder codes," he said, his fingers flying across the console. "As long as no one looks too closely, we'll pass as one of theirs." Alina nodded, her hands steady on the controls. "Let's hope they don't get curious." The transport ship ascended into the black void of space, weaving through the Empire's fleet. Tension hung thick in the air as they approached the Sovereign Blade *. From the outside, the flagship was an imposing sight, its massive size and sleek design a testament to the Empire's engineering. Miles glanced at Alina. "We're in range. Sending the docking request now." The seconds felt like hours as they waited for a response. Finally, a voice crackled through the comms. "Transport vessel, proceed to docking bay 12. A collective sigh of relief swept through the crew, but they knew the hard part was just beginning. Inside the Sovereign Blade *, the Resistance team moved swiftly, their stolen Imperial uniforms helping them blend in. Miles carried the EMP charges in a large satchel, his heart pounding with every step. "Stay calm," Alina whispered. "We stick to the plan." They navigated through the labyrinthine corridors, relying on the schematics they had memorized. Imperial officers passed them without suspicion, too preoccupied with their duties to notice anything amiss. Finally, they reached the shield generator room. The massive machinery hummed with energy, its alien design both awe-inspiring and intimidating. "Plant the charges," Alina ordered. Miles and another team member worked quickly, attaching the EMP devices to key points on the generator. "Charges are set," Miles said, his voice shaking slightly. "We've got 5 minutes." As they turned to leave, an alarm blared, and red lights flashed throughout the ship. "They'd spotted us," Alina shouted. "Move." The team raced through the corridors, pursued by Imperial soldiers. Blaster fire echoed around them as they fought their way back to the transport ship. Miles stumbled but was pulled to his feet by Alina, who fired a shot that took down an advancing guard. "Keep going," she yelled. They reached the transport just as the EMP charges detonated. A massive ripple of energy swept through the Sovereign Blade *, disabling its shields and systems. The once imposing flagship now drifted powerless in space. As dawn broke over Earth, the Resistance stood victorious. The Empire's forces were in full retreat, their once mighty fleet limping away into the depths of space. Cheers erupted across the planet, but Alina knew the war wasn't over. "This isn't just about Earth anymore," she said, watching the sunrise. "The galaxy needs to know that the Empire can be defeated." The humans had done the impossible. They had brought the Galactic Empire to its knees. Now, the galaxy was watching, and the fight for freedom had only just begun. From the surface of Earth, cheers erupted as Resistance forces watched the explosion from afar. The Empire's fleet, now vulnerable, was a prime target for Earth's remaining defenses. On board the Sovereign Blade *, Commander Rillock stood in the flickering light of the damaged command room. He stared out at the void, where the humans' boldness had turned the tide. For the first time, he felt a pang of doubt, not just in his ability, but in the Empire's invincibility. "They've done it," Krolek said quietly, his voice tinged with reluctant admiration. "The humans have crippled us." Rillock's claws dug into the console. "This isn't over," he growled. But deep down, he knew the Empire's confidence had been shattered. And the humans weren't done yet. The asterisk Sovereign Blade asterisk drifted in space, its once impenetrable shields disabled and its systems in disarray. Inside the flagship, chaos reigned. Imperial officers shouted over one another, trying to regain control. But no amount of barking orders could undo the damage inflicted by the humans. Commander Rillock stood in the flickering light of the control room, his fists clenched so tightly that his claws dug into his palms. His pride had taken a fatal blow, but his rage burned hotter than ever. "Status report," Rillock barked. An officer hesitated before replying. "Commander, our shields are down, propulsion is offline, and communications are limited. We've lost 2 support ships already to human counterattacks." Rillock's tail lashed behind him as he turned to Krolek. "What are our options?" Krolek's reptilian face was grim. "The humans have the upper hand. Their forces are pressing the attack, and without our shields, we're exposed. We need reinforcements." Rillock growled low in his throat. "There's no time. If we retreat now, we lose everything. We must strike back." On Earth, the Resistance was celebrating its greatest victory yet. Inside their underground base, cheers and laughter echoed through the halls. Captain Alina Graves stood at the center of the command room, her expression proud but cautious. She knew this war was far from over. Miles approached her, holding a datapad. "The fleet is vulnerable. We've hit them where it hurts, but they're not going to give up." Alina nodded, her sharp eyes scanning the latest reports. "No, they won't. Desperation makes them dangerous. We need to be ready." The Resistance had already begun preparing for the Empire's inevitable retaliation. Engineers worked tirelessly to upgrade Earth's remaining defenses, while strategists coordinated with teams across the globe. The human spirit was unyielding, but everyone knew the next battle would be the hardest yet. Above the planet, the Empire launched its counteroffensive. With their shields still offline, the remaining Imperial ships converged in a desperate bid to overwhelm Earth's defenses. Rillock led the charge, his fleet forming a massive wall of firepower. "This is our final stand," Rillock announced over the comms. "We will crush their hope and remind the galaxy who we are." The first wave of Imperial ships descended into Earth's atmosphere, firing relentlessly. Cities trembled under the onslaught, and human forces scrambled to respond. But humanity was prepared. Alina coordinated the defense from a mobile command center, her voice steady over the radio. "Hold the line. Focus on their weak points. Don't let them break through." Miles, stationed at a makeshift control tower, worked to deploy automated drones armed with reverse-engineered Imperial tech. "Our systems are online," he reported. "Drones are targeting their engines." The sky became a battleground. Human fighters, both piloted and unmanned, swarmed the Imperial ships. Explosions lit up the night as Earth's forces fought with everything they had. The Empire's superior firepower was met with relentless human ingenuity. Rillock watched the battle unfold from the bridge of the asterisk Sovereign Blade asterisk. His fleet was holding, but barely. Each victory came at a steep cost, and the humans refused to relent. "These creatures are maddening," Rillock muttered. "They fight as if they have nothing to lose." Krolek, standing beside him, nodded. "Because they don't. This is their home. They will defend it to the last." Rillock growled in frustration. He had never encountered such resistance. The Empire's power was crumbling, and the humans were turning the galaxy's perception of invincibility into a myth. On the ground, Alina's team executed a bold plan. Using intel from the stolen Imperial data, they identified a critical weakness in the Empire's command structure. A coordinated strike on the fleet's central command ship could throw the entire invasion into disarray. Alina led a daring assault team aboard a captured Imperial dropship. As they approached the target, enemy fire peppered the hull, but the team pressed on. Inside the ship, they moved with precision, neutralizing guards and planting explosives in the engine room. "Charges are set," Alina said, her voice steady. "Let's get out of here." The team barely escaped as the ship erupted in a fiery explosion. The destruction rippled through the fleet, causing chaos among the remaining Imperial forces. Back on the Sovereign Blade Rillock's rage boiled over. He slammed his fist onto the console. They're dismantling us piece by piece. Krolek, calm despite the chaos, offered a grim observation. They've beaten us, Commander. The humans have done what no one else dared to try. Rillock knew Krolek was right. His fleet was in shambles, his troops demoralized. For the first time, the idea of retreat entered his mind.